The 1998 Honda Civic EX, the fourth of the 20 Hondas I've owned in my life. I got married and the first thing I did for my wife was trade her Toyota Tercel in for a brand new top-of-the-line 1998 Honda Civic EX. This being the new 6th generation Civic after having now owned a 3rd and 5th generation. Looking back, there was nothing that new and special about this Civic. Its 1.6 liter single overhead cam VTEC engine produced the same horsepower that even the 93 Civics had, such as my 93 Del Sol SI. And it's the same for base performance, pretty much the same as every SI or EX that came before it. It was still better than its competitors, such as my wife's Toyota Tercel, which was generally in the same class and price point, but look at those performance numbers. Ouch! I don't have much to say about this Civic since it wasn't my daily driver and I only found 2 poor pictures of the one that we actually owned. In general, it was a fantastic driving car for my wife for over 2 years. The only alteration I made on this car was to take off the cheap wheels and covers and put on the stock 1995 Del Sol VTEC wheels that I still had. As usual, the 6th generation was a bit larger and heavier than the previous generations, but it was a large step up in refinement. Let's return to the goal of this Honda series, which is to talk about Honda history from the perspective of owning them at this time, in this case, 1998 through 2000. This is a great time to start talking about Civics in general since there was big changes between the 6th and 7th generation Civics. As you can see, every generation of Civic was not only heavier but larger than the previous generations. In the 90s through the early 2000s, most of the weight was due to government mandates. More and more airbags, impact beams, and crumple zones. For the 7th generation that came out in 2000, there was also a significant increase in quality and comfort, including items like leather seats. However, everything else across the board was purposefully muted. The largest change was that Honda replaced the expensive road-hugging double wishbone suspension with cheap McPherson struts. This made the Civic feel heavier and more isolated and not as connected to the road. The engines also went from being more wild and revving to being designed more tame with fuel efficiency engineering. VTEC kicking in, yo, became I think I felt something. In short, the 6th generation went from being built for drivers to the 7th being a new global platform for everything else. Think the new soon-to-arrive Civic CR-V. I will note that I also owned a 7th generation soon that we'll talk about. Now, I was still rolling around in my Del Sol VTEC and running Club Soul, and this topic was well discussed with enthusiasts, and many were not happy. The feeling was that Honda didn't like seeing all these souped-up Civics running around, so they wanted to tame it up a bit because the real sales were with normal people and not hot rodders. While the Civic enthusiast aftermarket still continued on, it was never quite the same by 2000 after the 7th generation. However, at the same time, even by 1998, Honda had released this picture and said it was working on something new for enthusiasts. Guess what that turned into? Hint? In conclusion, the 6th generation did remain a go-to car for the enthusiast for some time due to its driver-oriented design.